All right, Ronan, have you ever heard the term good things come to those who wait? Because we're talking about that today on NFT Live. Welcome in. This is NFT Live. We're bringing you the NFT news from around the industry. We're having a good time talking all things non fungible tokens, everything that's happening across the industry. I'm sitting with my main man, Ronan the Collector. I'm Nifty Q. Ronan, how are you doing today, my man?
Dude, I'm doing good. It's been a good week. You know what I mean? Like, there's been a lot of news. We've seen, some really big projects launch over the weekend. We saw some really cool news. Bored Apes dropped that mobile game. They've got the mutants versus apes going on. Twitter added the hexagon, so everybody's flexing their hexes. And yeah, Paris Hilton, Jimmy Fallon. Rumors about the Super Bowl. Everybody's talking about crypto and currencies and stock and all this red, and everybody in NFTs like just balling out, having a good time. So I'm happy I'm here. I'm happy you're here, and I'm super happy that our guest is here this week, Seb from the Sandbox. We're super excited to get into that conversation with him and talk a little bit about what they've got going on over there, the partnerships they're making, and being really one of the founders of the Metaverse. So I'm really looking forward to that chat. But for anybody who's here hanging out in chat, if you guys are still here, if you could hit the thumbs up on the video, it really helps a ton to make sure that we're getting a little bit of traction in the algorithm. Subscribing, and then of course we do appreciate it if you can copy paste that link into a Discord channel, Twitter, anywhere that you've got a community that might be interested in the content that we're producing. This interview is going to be a good one. We're going to learn a lot about the Sandbox, where it's been, where it's going, and what they've got going on. So we're super excited about that.
I'm excited too. We talk about the metaverse all the time. Meta and Facebook and all these big stories have brought it into the limelight. So it's really cool to talk to a founder of a project that is really creating the world that we're going to live in here in the coming years. So it's going to be an awesome conversation. Real quick, LADZ City update. We had Louis C. Rhymes debut on the network here yesterday night. Go and check out that episode. We had a lot of cool, content there. I'll give you a quick show. As you can see, Louis popping up on the screen there with Jared and Natalie. They brought in Anna Diorio as well, who was like playing piano and doing a lot of cool shit there on the first episode on the network. They're talking NFT music. They're doing all really cool types of things there. So wanted to give a big shout out to It's Louis Baby, our Vibe, our Tribe on that one. And then Ronan, hit this one really quick. You got a story that you want to touch on, very, very, quick that just kind of hit. What do we got here from Ryan Wyatt?
Yeah, man. So the big news that just kind of hit early this morning was the fact that YouTube gaming head has left for Polygon Studios. So anybody who's here, in the space, you obviously have heard of Polygon / Matic, and it looks like they have added quite the firepower to their arsenal. So, congratulations on the move to Web3 and for joining us in this space. It's a hell of a time. We appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. All right, Seb, we are going to bring you up now. Guys, if you don't know who Sebastian Bourget is, I don't know what you've been doing in the space. We actually were just talking with him right before the episode started on the last time we talked with him, which is almost a calendar year ago today. So we're going to bring my man in here, and we're going to have ourselves a good interview about the Sandbox and the future of the metaverse. Sebastian, how are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm great. It's going to be a really, really exciting week in terms of announcements. A lot of things have happened. Like, I think we haven't seen the year go through, right? And yet, so many cool projects are now building on top of Sandbox. We've definitely brought major brands.
We love it.
It's glad to be back.
Yeah, we love it, and our community members love it. They were, chomping at the bit to get you on the channel, and we're happy to have you in here today. I guess I just want to start the convo because we talk about the metaverse all the time, and before we jump into what the updates are with the Sandbox, what, in your mind, is the metaverse today, and what will it be in the future? I really want to get your take here on the metaverse in general as you build the Sandbox.
The overall vision, it's still this set of parallel universes where us human beings, we can engage and we can attend all sort of more social, more rich, more immersive experiences, all of that through a 3D avatar. And This is what we've been trying to build at the Sandbox by taking the approach of being an open metaverse where users can actually own their identity, own that avatar that we're seeing. They can own their digital assets, whether they are game items, art, and more. And they can also own their currency, their token, where they can use to spend on the platform, to create content, to engage, and also to participate in the future in the governance of that world.
That's amazing. And I think that like with the conversation, you know, obviously that last conversation we had being a year ago and where we're at now, like the metaverse has just seen so much like growth and popularity and interest, right? From like general public and growing that conversation thanks to Facebook and Meta and all that stuff. But for me, I think like what is most interesting and what's been going on here in you know the metaverse that you've currently been building is these partnerships and the ability to onboard so many projects and get them involved in this, even though you're still kind of like in this alpha stage. So I'm really interested to know a little bit about you know these partnerships that you guys build, how they kind of come along, you know, because I think that you're doing it better than any other metaverse currently out there. I mean, you guys have announced, you know, Snoop Dogg, Paris Hilton. You've got, you know, some really excellent games that have been announced, and obviously, to your point, you've got more. So, if you could talk a little bit about these partnerships and how you kind of form them, and you know, what the goal there is, we'd love to hear about that.
Absolutely. Well, our approach from the very beginning has been, and even it started when we were doing the Sandbox Mobile, to turn players into creators and to provide the tools for creators to like kind of achieve the dreams, achieve their vision. So the way Sandbox platform was built is we started 4 years ago this blockchain-based, NFT-based version with uh, the creation tools first, the Vox Edit, the 3D editor, and then the game maker, which is a no-code game maker, making it really accessible to everyone. And a lot of the engagement and activities we're doing is actually launching contests, launching competition that attract more and more people to use and learn those tools to build other content. Now, Sandbox is even going one step further. We're spawning a whole ecosystem which counts more than 50 game studios, people who started as individuals and now run companies of 10, 20, sometimes 40 builders for the landowners and other brands. We're announcing really soon a Sandbox Metaverse Accelerator that will be a program of $50 million to support all the entrepreneurs in the metaverse, receiving grants of $250,000 by companies and like supporting education, supporting entrepreneurship, and supporting more empowerment of women in kind of diversity. We've also worked, and we've been one of the first to bring brands to NFTs. We started with Atari, then came Care Bears, Smurf, The Walking Dead, Snoop Dogg, Adidas, Steve Aoki, and more. And we're doing so always by showing the possibility. So it's not just we're announcing a brand, but not yet super clear what's going to happen. We put a lot of attention to use to show the quality, to show the intention, and doing that through using our tools, like you're showing today. And I think the last thing that we did that really helped to keep supporting the idea that we're really community driven was to let community play with their own NFTs. So we worked in ways to enable them through something called the interoperability bridge to interact and play with their own assets, turning their 2D collection into 3D asset that then come to life, can play, can jump, can run, can fight, can dance, can do a lot of cool things. Empowering, giving to the holders more utility, empowering them through like having a hub where they can socialize with other holders, and even enabling them to create more stories, more adventure, to expand on the universe of their dream, the community they are fan of with the game maker.
Yeah, the game maker is so accessible, and like I've gone in and I've played with it, and just like as someone who literally has no development experience, it is really like super easy to just jump in and start kind of building out your environments and everything. Now, obviously, the game maker is still a step kind of like beyond what the normal user is going to interact and how they'll interact with the sandbox. And I'm kind of curious to know a little bit about, new users getting in. What do they need to know as far as like the sandbox is concerned? Like, if you're interested in getting into the sandbox and experiencing kind of like the beginning of the metaverse, what would you say like new users should probably be looking at?
I would say like Sandbox is a place where we offer a lot of different flavors, a lot of different experience. You can be an artist, you can be a creator, you can be just a landowner and rent your land or develop a whole business on top of it. You can be just an investor and still participate into the economy of sand, staking, earning NFTs, earning reward, etc. And now, since last month, we've showcased the possibility of being just a players, spending time, engaging into fun activities, and turning that time into a certain revenue stream. So, turning that time into a certain revenue stream by, for example, selling your token, selling the NFT you earn through your gameplay. So we've been really pleased to see, like, we had more than 90% positive feedback of the alpha season 1, and many users shared their moment, their slice of life they spent with other users over social media.
So, Sebastian, I want to get your take here. Obviously, everyone's kind of been talking about Meta and Facebook and the traditional kind of companies getting in to what has been seen as like a Web3 vision, right? An open metaverse that is controlled by us. What is your unfiltered take here on Meta, on Facebook? Don't hold anything back. I want to hear what your thoughts are here on Meta and Facebook and that situation.
Well, one of the largest companies that's been impacting our life most over the last decade, the life of hundreds of millions of users, to billion people on the earth, suddenly, from one day to another, announced that they are rebranding themselves and they are going to change the way we're going to interact with each other. I think that creates a massive effect of surprise. And the only element of response to that effect of surprise is they showcase some videos, use cases, which are not very disruptive, not very revolutionary in my mind. And they write a letter that explain like what for them what is this vision of the metaverse. It's essentially like working or playing, and not very much of things in between. So that didn't look so fun ultimately. Also, they clearly explain that they are aware about NFTs and token, but it was not really an area of interest for them. And they essentially also alluded to what their business model and how it would be changed. So that didn't trigger, in my opinion, the kind of answers that the public was looking for. Like, how is it going to change our life? What is new for us? And how is Facebook not continuing to be the company that it unfortunately has become? And it's become the best company in the world at collecting data and turning that data into a revenue stream by selling to advertisers, etc., so they can better track you and serve you ads. Now, unfortunately, in 2021 and 2022, the world is no longer as it is. There is a greater amount of people who are aware about that, and they care about their privacy. They care about their digital identity online and what can be made of their data. And they become more vocal, and they have been more empowered. Some of them have been empowered through Web3, through decentralization, to actually express and make a choice to not be that kind of user that's being monetized without their consent.
Yeah,
So I find it's a big the miss here, and that left a big opportunity for other actors from the decentralized Web3 space to actually fill the gap that's been left open.
yeah, I definitely agree. I think that like the way that it was announced and like the way that they've kind of like chosen to communicate about their goals and what they're going to do has been very kind of like surface level. And it does feel like it was more of like Zuck being like, oh crap, like I want to make sure I'm ahead of this, even though I don't get it. And like putting in like, you know, the trademark and changing the name and all that. And then they're gonna try to figure it out. And the good thing about that is very much that people like you and the guys over at DCL and the other metaverses that have kind of been here for a few years now do have that ingrained like built-in community, right? You're in my opinion part of the foundation of Web3. And I don't know if they'll ever be able to catch up. And I mean, obviously, net effect is important, and I think there'll be something there, but I don't know if it'll be anything like we're hoping the metaverse will be. But to kind of kind of move on from that, you guys had just or you have just closed Alpha Season 1. You're getting ready to kind of boot up Alpha Season 2. I'd love to hear a little bit about, you know, what maybe some of the key takeaways for you guys from Alpha Season 1 were, and what you might be looking forward to the most in Alpha Season 2.
I thought season one was a great first test, like opening to a smaller amount of users, having 5,000 pass and just 4 lands available to the public to make sure like we're technically ready and that we can cope with a certain load and number of users playing simultaneously. And also we were offering enough diversity of experience for pleasing anyone. What Alpha Season 2 is bringing is like it's taking some of those key ingredients and making everything better. So we'll have more experiences, more greater diversity, more solo single player experiences that will require more skills. A lot more user generated content involved as well from partners, from studios supported by the Game Maker Fund and Foundation. More diversity into the representation of characters and IPs that will be present. Still a lot of NFTs everywhere. Like I think like that's one thing we want people to know the Sandbox is all way in about is like we are the NFT metaverse. In a sense, like you need when you come to Sandbox, you're going to see NFTs from so many communities that you maybe didn't know about. You're going to experience NFT art. It's part of the culture. Like we're not trying to brand Sandbox everywhere. We want to show what's everything in Web3 and make even Sandbox disappear behind. And we are considering like how to make play to earn even more accessible to everyone, not make the gameplay gated to anyone, but introduce new model of like rewarding engagement, whether this engagement will be within the game itself or outside of the game. And that's also something interesting in Web3 and in the metaverse. Like we consider like if wherever we spend time, whether we spend time on social media, on the dashboard, on Discord, or in the game, that time should be, and the action we're doing there should be rewarded as well. And I think that's what season 2 is aiming at with all those new systems we're introducing. And well, I keep seeing the quality of everything you're showing me. Like just in a matter of a year, I think like it's incredible to see how the community has been leveraging those tools and the quality of the animation, content, building characters they are making, the experiences, the content they are selling as well. It's great to see all that diversity of projects and that Sandbox can add value to almost any project into the ecosystem now.
Yeah, Ronan,
Absolutely.
hit it, Ronan.
I was gonna say I saw the one that Q played kind of like at the beginning of the episode and or your chat, and it was basically like a Rocket League kind of like game mode that had been created in Sandbox. And this is to me a year ago like not anything we were discussing at all. We were talking about like, you know, just like having these really like small social hubs and like just kind of like hanging out with your friends, right? Like I remember our first party in Sandbox, it was everybody just kind of jumping in and dancing, and that was about like we had some impromptu races. But now you can go in and you can code in an actual start and finish line, and you can do these things. And to be able to have that access, I think is really exciting. And I think you know, it just really does lend itself well to a creator economy. But I'll let Q kind of jump in and get his question off. Oh, did you? Okay, no,
No, no, no,
forget it.
quick,
I'll
no,
go
quick. I got
where
a
I'm
quick
at.
audible. I got
Okay.
a quick audible. Seb, it's been about a year and a half. In that time frame, what has been the biggest surprise to you in that time, just as a creator in the space, especially as it's related to like the metaverse? Has there anything, is there anything that really sticks out to you over the past year that is like, wow, I did not predict that in maybe 2019 or 2020, and this is the way it is now, and I just couldn't have foreseen it.
I think we haven't. I couldn't predict that the ecosystem will grow that fast around everything. And I think the big change versus 2019 and 20 has been NFT collections community, like the big profile picture movement initiated by CryptoPunk in a way, and then Meebits, and then Bored Ape, etc. It's actually been very uh, complementary towards what we are building. We are building a world, but the world needs characters. And there are all those connections with community, engaged community, which like to use those pictures as a profile picture. What if those all of them could become the characters into this virtual world? So rather than trying to create our own characters, our own avatars, we will do it, but I think we have access to so much creativity around the NFT profile picture collection that that was one of the big transformation and revelation of last year. And no matter how we appreciate the value, etc., here or like the creativity aspect behind, I still think like those are probably in the range now of millions of characters with all different traits, all different aesthetic, and their own value system within their community that can be brought into a virtual world and used as your main character. And that I think is pretty cool. And I don't know so many virtual world, decentralized or centralized, that lets you just take any character designed by someone else, have it then turn into a 3D character and play into a virtual world.
Yeah, and I think that like the ability for these communities to just like plug in and jump into the metaverse, I think is just like it makes so much sense. And I agree, like the growth that we have seen across like the PFPs and what that allows us to now build from is really cool. And it does give you this sense of like, okay, like what's the next wave going to be like? Is it going to be a bunch of people doing cars or like because as we build the metaverse out, like I feel like there's so many different categories of things that we can all become obsessed with, right? um
It
but I do think
might
that
be
we actually had a
pets, it might
question.
be cars, like you said.
Yes, actually,
We're seeing.
yeah, pets like companions I think are super strong,
Mm-hmm.
like use case for sure. But we did have a question I think plays perfectly into this conversation, which is essentially from XPOW. Do you see interoperability coming with metaverses? Do you see you guys having some type of interoperability with any of the other metaverses that are being built over time?
I think interoperability is a key concept that's really underlying this very notion of like describing yourself as an open metaverse. If you do not encompass interoperability and you do not make the necessary effort for that interoperability to happen, then it's almost being meaningless to say like we're open, we're decentralized, because the assets that are being produced on your platform, if they only have utility into one place, it's almost the same in terms of centralization as if they were not able to be transferred outside. Meaning like it's much better, of course, that you can transfer them, you can own that asset and sell them on marketplace, etc. But I'm very attached to the notion of utility of those assets. I think that's uh, yet the least exploited at the moment characteristic of NFTs, like scarcity, aesthetic, but utility is, and yet utility is something that can be massively transforming our approach to valuing asset and creating and constructing business model. Like an asset, you can calculate the yield that a certain NFT can generate within a certain gameplay through its utility and through the gameplay rules of that game A. But if in game B the rules change and the way the attribute of the asset are being interpreted differ, that asset might become useful. So utility will increase because the revenue into that other game can increase. And this is also potentially a massive user acquisition strategy. You have like certain collections, certain holders with assets which are so far very undervalued because they are lacking utility somewhere. If you want to attract the user, give more utility to their assets. And that would really illustrate perfectly the concept of interoperability by allowing users to carry their asset from one game to another and still enjoy them.
So we got to let you go here relatively soon. A couple more questions that I had specifically as it's related to like specific details. Alpha 2. So you had that first kind of Alpha 1 kind of come out. When is the next phase here for that Alpha 2? And then any other details you can give as far as like roadmap features would be amazing to drop here on the channel.
Alpha 2 will not make people wait one more year to get the next alpha. So things are accelerating a bit, and we're looking at Alpha 2 for beginning of March. And we'll try to keep like a very packed planning this year with more season afterwards.
That's awesome. I'm so looking forward to like, oh, sorry. I was gonna say, I'm so looking forward to like phase 2 and like, yeah, tell us a little bit about like the partnerships. You guys have got a ton, and then we'll leave that and that'll be the end of it. Yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit about these partnerships because I've seen so many just like looking through your Twitter. It's insane.
Yes, it's definitely interesting. We have all the major mainstream partnership with Sandbox, but there's also everything the community is capable of doing through Sandbox for their members. Keep following this week. There might be interesting announcement coming up. Yeah.
Seb, we're gonna let you go here, man. This has been a great interview. Thank you for stopping by and dropping some information on the alpha. And I want to get one last shout out here. You have so many different communities. We displayed a lot of them while you were talking there. The composability of that is awesome to see. Everyone build like little mini games inside what essentially is the game that you built. What is a shout out really quick to a game that you really like a project that you really want to give a shout out to, maybe one or two that are like maybe your favorites? I know it's kind of like picking children or favorite children, but can you give us a little bit?
Let me see. I think there's one project, Sandhelm, which is really turning out interestingly with a good trailer, with a great, they had the social hub party, etc., which I love how it's been constructed and where it's going. There's also Sandstorm, which I really enjoy. Like it's a very active community running almost on a weekly basis, meetup directly from their hub, interviewing like the project, the creators, the builders, the NFT collection. And then, well, yes, like there's so many, all the contributors, all the finalists at all those various game jams. Like the top 10 is always so great. I feel like it's hard to put them in top 10. Like we have to choose, there is a jury, etc. But always I'm part of those ceremony. I see them and I say, wow, but it's the creativity that comes from like people who, some of them for the first time only use Sandbox Game Maker. That's so impressive. So I can never get bored of Sandbox.
That's like, awesome. I don't think we will either. Yep. We had Sandhelm on last week, and it was awesome. They were a great interview, and we think their project's awesome. I'm looking forward to the Red Village and what they're building out in the Sandbox because I'm a huge Red Village fan. But Seb, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you, and it's been an excellent interview. Hopefully, it's not a year before we speak again, and we can follow up here in a few months, and once Alpha 2 gets going, and we can chat a little bit about that. Thanks again, bud.
Of course. Thank you, Ronan. Thank you, lads. Cheers.
Take it easy.
Bye, Seb.
Cheers. He's like genuinely like one of the like most pleasant people in the space to speak with.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we had we definitely have to connect with him again. Not in maybe a few months, maybe a few weeks. Seth, come on. I know you're a busy man. He actually had back-to-back interviews, and that was the reason NFT Live started a tad late. But I appreciate him coming on and laying it down as we knew he would. So. Yeah, man. I hope you guys enjoyed that, lads. I hope you enjoyed that, and NFT Live viewers. Sandbox is just one of the biggest projects in the space, and they're building out the metaverse. So it's cool to see, what Seb's vision is for the metaverse. Being at the helm of the Sandbox, essentially. So it's big stuff.
And the best part of that is that what's cool is that his vision really is just to give people a place to create their own, which is really a cool concept, right? What the Sandbox does is it empowers the communities and it empowers creators, and with very little guidance, right? We had to talk about what they do and how the, building it out and, building all these experiences looks like. And one of the things that he said was look, we don't even have a roadmap that we determine. What we do next and what is implemented next is based on the guys who are building these experiences and what we find they need most to be able to be successful. So I think the Sandbox is one of those projects that is really for the people. And I think it's because they understand that that's where you can bring the value, and they're doing it really well. So great interview. I really appreciate that, man. And it was awesome.
I was hoping he'd call out Zuckerberg or something, some viral clip that I could have used, but he kept it pretty close to the vest. But
he got his point across, and I think it was really well said.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's marketing as well, right? It's allowing your community to market for you. I mean, technically, with what they've built, all they really have to do is retweet stuff now to even get the word out about the Sandbox. It's genius. It's taking the token model where token holders start to market your product for you, and bringing it into gaming, bringing it into the metaverse space where they just showcase your product, and all you got to do is hit that retweet button, and you're gone.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm going to let you,
the metaverse.
Absolutely, man. And I'm going to let you hit this upcoming story. So we're going to get into the NFT weekly news. We have, I believe, 2 stories that we really want to get to you guys. And then we will be up and out of here. So these are really big stories though. So we want to get to them. Ronan, I'll let you take the first one. And then I've got that clip ready to roll as well. So you got it.
Awesome. So we're going to talk a little bit about the UFC, the fact that UFC has launched their product over the weekend and hit a little bumps on the road and how they've recovered. But I definitely want you guys to check out this clip because it's pretty sick. Their announcement. First thing, just another huge release for Dapper Labs and the Flow ecosystem. And what they're bringing to the table is these massive brands. I mean, these are brands that, permeate the daily conversation for a lot of people, right? So, leaning into the UFC event that happened on Saturday night, here you have the pack, opening animation was really freaking cool. But yeah, so they launched on Sunday, they sold out 100,000 packs. That's actually the first part of this drop. The second part is next Monday. So you guys are going to want to make sure that you're tuning in. And then the second half of the story is actually that there was a little bit of a hiccup. They came out and UFC Strike did say that there was an issue with the way the packs were minted. And unfortunately, there was some of the championship tier moments that did not get distributed as they properly. So what did they do? They're actually going to give everyone who bought a pack $50 refund and credit back. So essentially they're giving away the, $2 million or whatever they just made. And then they're also going to make sure that if you did not get a championship drop, you're going to get a random pull from one of the moments that's left over. There's, I think, 360 something championship moments that are going to be distributed over the next week. If you did hit a championship moment, then you're going to get a free card from the contender pool. So when you look at how do you make a... The audio is so good too.
Barnett has to stop backing up. He's pushing John Vellante back with some combinations, and then he lets John Vellante back into the fight. Oh my goodness! Vellante down, covering up.
Oh my goodness! Oh my God! Oh man!
Chris Barnett trying to close out his first UFC win.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, the flip, dude! dude.
Yeah, there's just something
That's
about
so hype.
there's just something about seeing somebody get knocked out. I mean, we're still old days gladiator style, line them up, man.
Right.
Yeah.
These moments are dope, man. And this is one of those things where when you talk about what like naturally comes from collectors, it's like the fact that like we just love that does very, very cool platform. And I love what they're doing. Oh, we didn't even talk about this. And yeah, so Francis was wearing his UFC championship tier moment for the weigh-in, for the pre-interview. All weekend he was rocking that bad boy every moment he could. And the reaction is awesome. It's cool. This is another way of flexing that NFT, right? Showing people what you got. So, I think Dapper, one of the things they do really well is make sure that marketing is on point, and the partnership with UFC. They had Dana White make a comment about it on Friday. You have, Ngannou. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you got it.
Flexing his moment, as he's flexing on stage for the weigh-in. So making sure that people know about the product is something that I think Dapper does better than just about anybody. Like the marketing and making sure people are aware is really difficult. So
yeah, last question I had.
Good job, guys.
Yeah, one last question I had here, Ronan. The queue system, how did that end up working? Because I actually wasn't part of the queue. Did that go quickly? I know you were talking about a.
But you know how degens are, dude. They start playing with things and they figure out a way to like skip the line. So some of those things happen, and I think that plays into the compensation right package that they put out as well.
Yeah.
But the queue system itself, I think, held up really, really well. They tested it Saturday night with a smaller group of people, had no hiccups. And then except for the false start on Sunday, I think it went really, really well. And I think we're going to see a lot more. I mean, the VV app, right? Like people have been talking about how they just announced they're getting a queue system. So I think it's something that is going to be kind of ingrained and is not simple to implement. but once you do and you get it right, then it is a pretty seamless experience. The thing is that they only let so many people, right? So you probably have a couple thousand people that are actually able to buy at any moment, and you have to wait until they back out before the next person goes in. So that's why I think it took about 4 hours. If this was an old school wax drop, it probably would have sold out in whatever amount of time they could have without it breaking. So I think we've come a long way. I think we got a long way to go, but they're doing what they need to do. Dapper is leading the way when it comes to like adoption and these massive drops. I don't know if anybody, I mean, the Matrix, they did 100,000.
Yeah.
Dapper did 100,000.
What was the Matrix drop? I thought that was on Palm Network. Was that on Palm? Nifty's?
Palm, maybe. Yeah,
maybe.
I was.
Maybe
Yeah. It was on Palm. No,
okay.
It was on Palm. And what I was speaking about there was the fact that like I was gonna say Dapper's like now had done 100,000. Who else has done that? But Matrix did do 100,000. But yeah, man, I think that it's interesting when you talk about. Dude, you remember a year and a half ago, we're talking about like 2,000-3,000 NFTs that are hard to like take off the shelf, and you got 100,000 that are in demand. So we're in a new place, a new time.
It's true, and honestly, with 100,000, again, I just want to bring this up one more time. Like, it's cool to see that amount of people getting NFT collections. Where do you go with the supply to make sure that some of this stuff remains rare, as opposed to kind of chasing the $1 million adoption or 1 million person adoption of your actual game. I want to give a quick couple shout outs. First of all, Evan Schindler, who is an old school friend of mine. I mean, we go back all the way to 2017, is in the chat right now. I want to give him a big shout out. He was actually a creator on this channel way back in the day. So I want to give a quick shout out to Ev. We also have a lot of cool comments. Loadmasters in the house saying fake news. NFT launches never have any problems. Said no one ever. I still remember getting pissed off at wax drops, man. That was one of the most fun times.
Dude, sale days were the most fun. And we gotta boot up a sale day. We gotta figure out a sale that's coming up that the community's hype about, that we can like get everybody like together and just having a good time. And the ability to talk to the developers as things are happening was really cool. So to Xpow's point, shout out to R Fox. They've done a lot of work on in the past year and a half in growing their brand and making sure that they've got things right. The Reeboks drop did do really, really well. So to that point,
last couple shout outs here. Expo, I'm not going to touch on any Cowboys situations here. That will be for another day. I might have to like start up my own channel to talk about the Cowboys, honestly. Coca Jenkins is saying, what's going to blow up more, UFC or an NFL moments, which I think is a really cool debate. obviously the NFL has way more, I think, fans. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not, but in my opinion, the NFL just has, in sheer numbers, a larger amount of fans. The players probably are bigger stars, so they can push the product a little bit more. But UFC moments, man, in my opinion, like those are cooler than NFL moments. You get those knockouts, you get that Nate Diaz moment. I'm going to like UFC more, but to answer your question, I think it's going to be the NFL, of course.
Yeah, and I'll echo the same sentiment. I think like NFL, like as we saw, they launched not just moments, but they launched shops, right? So the NFL is coming at it from more of a wider ecosystem, right? Like UFC seems to like be doing the moments. It's very much exactly like NBA, where NFL is like, well, we want to do moments, but we also want to have NFTs that are not directly just video clips, right? Like they want to be able to lean into the properties per team. So with NFL, we're not only seeing this bigger ecosystem of NFL moments, we're actually seeing each team is going to be booting up their own little shops. And these shops will then, interact and hopefully they build, community the right way, utilizing the technology. And now all of a sudden you've got, the Cowboys shop where you're buying your NFTs from that gives you access to Cowboy athletics, Cowboys games, Cowboys, athletes, and things like that. So if I was in those conversations, that's what I'd tell them to do with those shops.
That's interesting because look, like the NFL, like the way that you lay that out, the fact that the NFL is not handling it, you're going to see some teams be better at NFT marketing than others. So the Cowboys, as they've been better at marketing the damn team, they're probably going to have some dope NFTs, but they also probably won't win a Super Bowl in my lifetime. So that is the situation. Listen, the other situation that we have here is I had Illuvium to talk about. I do want to hit some of this before we bump out, but we do have to run. We're way over time as it comes to what we have to do in our regular day-to-day lives. But I am going to run this trailer. This kind of lays out basically that the Illuvium private beta is happening. I'm going to let them talk through it on this highlight here. This comes directly from the Illuvium YouTube channel, and then we'll talk a little bit about how you can get involved and, staking updates and things like this.
Hello, Andrew here from Illuvium, and as you know, Illuvium is a combination of exploration looter and collectible auto battler game rolled into one. And we are very excited to announce the first time players can experience our gameplay in Auto Battler Private Beta 1. In this beta test, survival mode is what you'll be up against, where wave after wave of enemy alluvial teams come at you, and you'll see how far you can go before you perish. Victory is literally impossible. So, we're encouraging beta testers to play every day, because spawns will reset every day, and we'll be collecting your high scores in an official leaderboard for the beta test. If you want to get access to Auto Battler Private Beta 1, 2 simple steps. Step number 1, go to our official registration page on our website. You'll have to provide your email and create an Illuvium account. Step number 2, fill out the registration form completely. In terms of selection, our production team is looking for 500 players, PC only, and we need above average specs on your hardware. We are only looking for serious beta testers, so please fill out the registration form completely. To stay up to date with future Illuvium beta tests, go to our website illuvium.io and register, and join our Discord server.
And join our Discord server. Listen, Ronan was, I saw it because I can see everything here. Ronan was getting hype on trying to get into this private beta. There's only 500 spots, Ronan. You going to get in?
Oh, see, this is what I was about to say. There was good news in there for me, bad news for you. Good news is they need above average specs. I got a 3080 in this bad boy. Your computer crashed before we went live. That's all I gotta say. Hopefully your application is really well put together.
I'm going to shut down the stream now, and I'm going to contact Kieran because I cannot have this happen. I can run, listen, if I can run League of Legends, I can potentially run Illuvium, okay? If I need to upgrade my graphics card, I will. to take part in this. Real quick, I want to kind of go over the details here. I'm going to pull up the website, and all the links that we have here on the channel are in the description below. So you can go ahead and register now. It's going to ask for an email. It's going to ask for a password. It's going to ask for your Discord name. It's going to ask for your specs. So thanks, Ronan. I completely lied on my specs probably. And then you are good to go. Now, you're likely, you better have like some credentials if you're trying to get into a 500 list piece here. That is going to be interesting to see who they let in and who they don't. But again, you saw the gameplay there. It's going to be a survival-based system. Will be interesting to see if they reward any private beta users as well. I want to get into a couple other things as we make our way into Illuvium before we hop out. I've got staking 2.0 as well. So, they had the unfortunate hack happen about a month ago here where the staking contracts were actually, hacked and drained. So they have this staking app 2.0. There's a fantastic staking dashboard inside of Illuvium. I might be able to go to a dashboard here and see if I could pull it up for you guys. So really cool system that they have set up where you can stake, you can set your ILV tokens to actually unlock at certain times, and then you get an APY, based on the amount of time that you actually are, staking. So shout out to Fancy Birds, who's going to use the same system with their FNC token. So this is really cool. They do have the staking version 2 ready to roll. That is going to be updated over the next 2 weeks. So if you're actually in there, you're getting rewards for staking, but you're not going to be able to do a couple things, which you can kind of look into this staking. And I'll link it here as well as have it in the description. But you can look at this information as we go forward. The IOV price, I don't want to bring this up for too long, but much like the rest of the market, we have a little bit of a dip from the highs of about 1,800. Or I'm sorry, let's make sure we get this set up here. It's not going to, CoinGecko, you're not going to work with me today.
Thinking, like, we just talked about your computer, bro. I'll build you a new one so you can get into Illuvium.
Highs of about 1,900 as Rona continues to troll me, and we are down to about 567. Not investment advice. Do your own research. Illuvium, in my opinion, is going to be one of the most premier games in the NFT space that's actually going to come out relatively soon. You see a lot of things like Phantom Galaxies. You see a lot of things like Star Atlas and a couple of these other NFT games that have more of a longer roadmap. You see Illuvium out here right now getting set for their private beta. They'll be out this year, no doubt. So 571 and the ability to stake for APY. Do your own research, but I really like it. Another link I have in here, guys, is a guy named Scoriox. He does a great job breaking down the land sale to be. So there's going to be land sales that have to do with the in-game economy. So, the open world is going to be much like Pokemon, where you're going to be able to, get resources to capture alluvials. That a lot of this has to do with land that's going to be producing the resources for the game. So if you want to get involved in Illuvium, you need to be a landowner. That's rule number one. And then second is going to be all the details that, again, I will have actually linked in our Discord. So there's going to be a Dutch auction here that goes from about I believe, let's see, so based on the different tiers, there's going to be, so for example, like the highest tier is going to be left for silent auction. Those are going to be gobbled up by big guilds. Tier 4, going to start at 20 ETH and make its way down over time. Tier 3, 5 ETH. Tier 2, 1.5 ETH and 0.5 ETH for tier 1s. There's also going to be a tier 0 for people who just want to play the game for free. So you're going to have the ability to kind of get involved in the game without actually buying any land, although that's obviously not going to have as big an effect. Last thing I'm going to touch on here, as I let out a mouthful, the reason you, again, want to have land in Illuvium, I'll read it right here, Rev Distribution. Landowners will have the opportunity to earn revenue from players in the main game through novel use of the Balancer multi-token weighted pool. What does that mean? It just means the more people use this game, the more they're going to need the resources that are farmed on your plot. So that, if you want to get more in detail, you can, again, watch that YouTube video that I have linked in the description. Ronan, I'm going to pop out of here and we can talk a little bit about, what I just kind of laid out and your thoughts on Illuvium. But 567 for me, that's good for Illuvium. I like it at that price. I'm not trying to pump my own bags. If I had any dry powder, I would use it.
Yeah, no, I think when you look at projects, one of the most common questions I get asked is like, how do you determine like what project you get into, which ones you don't? I mean, and one of the things I always say is like having a very clear and thought out like roadmap is very important, and then having like a team that like is doxed and is very like in the community, is very public, is another thing. But like when you look at this, like they have done tons of work on this game and they have put so much thought into this project. That's where I get my good vibes from, I guess, when it comes to any project, and Illuvium's definitely at the top of the list. I mean, I put them above you in like Star Atlas, which I think ultimately is going to be a huge game, but Illuvium is just putting out so much more real tangible things, right? So shout out to that team. We love Kieran and those guys, man, and we appreciate them being huge supporters of the show. But yeah.
Yeah, last piece there, Tier 0, right at the bottom of this. And I will, again, upload this all to the Illuvium channel in LADZ City. Tier 0 virtual land. Tier 0 land is free land that is not connected to the blockchain. Land will be similar to Tier 2, but without any earning potential. So if you want to get in and experience it without actually paying, you can. But again, the earning potentials come from actually owning Tier 1 and above. So that land sale got pushed out. We don't have an exact date for it yet, so you still have time to actually do some research. Otherwise, yeah, shout out to Illuvium, and we will be covering them as that land sale goes live. Woo! That was an episode, man. I appreciate you you rocking it with me. Great job on the UFC there and kind of laying out a good interview with Seb.
Yeah, man, that was a good one. I really enjoyed it. It's always a pleasure to hang out with Seb and obviously with you and the lads and everybody else here. So I think that's about it. We're going to say thank you guys so much for being here and for hanging out with us today and enjoying the content. Don't forget, like button, subscribe button, click, copy, paste, Control C, Control V, somewhere where you think somebody will find some value from the content that we're producing. We appreciate you guys so much. That's our vibe, our tribe.
Peace out.
Last time you were on the